Hello, let's talk about the links, namely lost links and found links. The importance of links has been clear to us since 2001 when Google has filed a patent explaining their principles for ranking sites. And quite a lot of that was based on links. But if the links are so important, is there any way to know if you're losing links and how it affects your rankings? Uh, Unfortunately, Google Search Console doesn't give us any clear picture in this regard. They do have a report about the external links of your sites, but that's not the entire set of links that they are aware of. There is no easy way to look through those links in their entirety. That's just a sample. And you can, of course, download them, do whatever you want with those links that Google are reporting for you. But basically, that's a very static picture, and you might want to be downloading them every once in a while, and then probably you will be able to see some changes. But still, that doesn't tell you much about the value of each link, or even if Google disregards any of those links. They're just reporting them like that, and that's it. So, how do we solve this problem? How do we know if we're losing any links? Well, one answer to that would be link audit. Link audits is an activity that ideally should be run on a recurring basis. They should be a recurring housekeeping activity because this is how you really know what's happening to your link profile. And because Google Search Console is of little help to us here, the additional data sources would be any link tools, link reporting tools that you could get your hands on that you could use. So I quote here Majestic and Ahrefs simply because these are the two I'm most familiar with, and these are the ones that I use. But there are many more out there, so feel free to use the ones that you're comfortable with. Moreover, the more sources of data you have, the better, because as you can see from these screenshots, these are the reports for the same domain from Ahrefs and Majestic. And they have slightly different numbers, they have slightly different data, because basically it all depends on the methodology of each tool and how they are discovering links, how they are reporting links, and so on, how they are treating the site's profiles. But there is one important thing to remember. All these third-party sources do not equal Google, and the data that they report for you is not the same data that Google bases their algorithmic decisions in terms of what sites to rank and how well they should be ranked. This is the lost links reports that Majestic has. This is quite handy because you can select a period of time and then delve deeper into the links that that Majestic, reports as lost during that period. And Ahrefs has something similar. But there is one thing to keep in mind, and that's really important. Not all lost links are really lost. If any tool reports them as lost, that doesn't really mean that you should be 100% sure that they are indeed lost. Because basically, the way both Majestic and Ahrefs collect those links is by running their crawlers through the web and collecting the links that they encounter on each side. But basically, just like any other bot, they can be blocked. And if your site is blocking either of these bots in their robots.txt, then of course they cannot access that site and they cannot collect the links to the other sites pointing from that site. And also, let's keep in mind one important thing. What is a link to both of those tools, to any link reporting tool? The link is a combination of the source URL, the target URL, and the anchor text. Should any one of those elements change, that means that most tools will regard that link as a completely different link. So what happens to the original link that they found, with one of those elements being different, they report it as lost, which of course doesn't mean that that link is lost. It has just changed, but they will report a new link instead of that old lost link that they are reporting as lost. For us, however, that doesn't mean that that link is lost. That probably just means that something has changed. So, for those of you looking for a more detailed explanation of what's reported as lost links, there is a link in my presentation that will be shared online later on for the Majestics explanation, and Ahrefs has a similar explanation as well. Now, question is, if your links are lost and they are really good links and they are really important to your rankings, how do you recover lost links? Well, there's another question we should ask, really. Do all links need recovering? Maybe not. So basically, there are a few cases that I would like to look at closer to consider whether or not certain things need recovering. This is by no way complete because we haven't got much time to go through all the possible cases of pseudo lost links, but let's look at least at a few. So first of all, the changing structure of the target site. So say you have done a migration of your site to a new platform, or maybe have removed some pages, or have joined the content from several pages to a new page and created a new page instead of several old ones, or something else has happened. Basically, your site structure has changed. So all those link reporting tools will see that the link is no longer going to a live page. Even if you have a redirect in place, still chances are those links will be reported as lost. So first of all, that underlines the importance of really good migrations, where you really take good care of all the redirects from the old URLs to the new URLs and redirect everything that makes sense properly. And also, if at all possible, if you could change the actual links on the sites linking to you, if you can contact the owners of those sites and ask them to change those links to the new URL on your site, then by all means, please do it, because then you won't be losing any value of your really good links, if they are really good links and you want to keep them. Now, there's another category that I would like to talk about, which is links from scraper sites. But this is something that gets lost quite often but doesn't need recovering. Here's why. Zero value. Basically, they are scrapers. They don't do anything. They don't add any value to your site. They just happen, probably even without your knowledge most of the time, probably even without consideration on the parts of those people building those scraper sites. They just scrape stuff. They might omit the links that were in the original content, or they might just skip them, but that's not their intention to link to you on purpose. So you might discover those links, but they tend to get lost really fast because scraper sites get thrown out of the index pretty regularly. They die quite a lot. People stop maintaining them. People just do not renew the domains for scraper sites. That's a one-off sort of thing. If it doesn't work especially well, that's a short-term strategy, so nobody's going to renew those sites. Or maybe even as soon as it's banned from Google, penalized, whatever happens to it, removed from the index, the site owner just puts the site down not to keep any hosting space allocated to it, and that's it. So they tend to get lost. That's one thing that you should know about them. So, of course, there is no need to recover such links. Now, there's another case that's quite important, so-called moving links. What are those moving links? Moving links is, for example, you get an article posted with a link to your site on another site, but then that article moves to the second page from the home page. So basically, all the link tracking tools, all the link reporting tools, see the source URL as something completely different. So, of course, they will be reported as lost links, but they are not really lost. They are just moving. They have just moved somewhere else, but they are still alive and probably still give you some value. Now, there are some truly lost links, which are removed links, in which case you should ask yourself a question: why was this link removed? Maybe it was by mistake, and then in that case, you might want to contact the site owner and ask them to correct that mistake, or maybe that was on purpose. And that is something that should be handled on a case by case basis. Now, there's also one way to lose your links, which is due to expired domains. In which case, what do you do? Perhaps you could register those domains if they were really good domains and just restore them if you do not violate any copyrights and such. And then you will still get the value of those links. But basically, anybody restoring links, trying to restore the links, should really know the relationship history behind each link. So if an external agency comes in tasked with restoring the links that a site has lost, that's a really, really tough job. It's probably best done by somebody who knows the history behind each of those links. On the other hand, are all reported links really live? Well, in some cases, they might no longer be alive, but still be reported as live, which means that during the link audit, you should really be checking each link manually. Do not just trust the tools. Check each link manually. Now, not all links are equal, whether live or lost. We all know about the Nofollow attribute for the links, which was introduced by Google and then some other search engines like a decade ago. So that's nothing new. But recently, Google has also introduced two other attributes, namely sponsored and UGC, which stands for user generated content. So there was an announcement back in September about the new ways Google treats nofollow. Basically, they do not just ignore nofollow anymore like they used to. They use nofollow, or they intended to use nofollow for certain things. But in addition, they have two new link attributes. However, do you need to rush and implement those new link attributes? Maybe not. Because in a recent podcast by a few Googlers, they said two things. First of all, regarding nofollow links, they said nofollow links can be helpful, but we do not have anything to say yet about how we're going to use them. So that's one thing to keep in mind. We don't know yet what Google are doing with this new announcement about the nofollow links. And secondly, they said you can help us with the new rel attributes if you want to, but you do not have to do anything. So basically, if you're asking yourself, will I get penalized if I do not mark all my sponsored links as sponsored? Or will I get penalized if I do not mark all my user-generated content as such? Links in user-generated content as UGC? No, basically no. So that's it regarding the links. If you have questions, please feel free to ask them. And also you'll be able to access these presentations through SlideShare, and you will be able to access all the links that I was mentioning in that presentation. Thank you for your attention.